What's up, everybody? It's George Assassin here with you again for episode 7 of Assassin Weekend Review Podcast for the WWC. This week I've taken on the UWE Efed as well. There'll be a separate show for that from now on. That way I can keep them separate and be able to put my full attention to each show. Got a little confused on it last week, so I decided that would be the best way to do it. I want to welcome everybody for tuning in. A lot of support for this. I really appreciate that. I'd like to thank my sponsors: Wolfpack Juice Boxes, 3G Masterpiece Cowboy Barbecue Sauce, Asylum Healthcare. Get a lot of support from those guys. I want to thank my graphics guy, 3G, for the new WWC screen for my review show. Top notch. I want to send a big thank you out to him. We had a lot of controversy this week in WWC. Anarchy had quite a big controversial match happen. Carnage was the same. We'll go over that. I want to thank D-Rod for giving me the opportunity to do this. If it wasn't for WWC, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you, D-Rod. So let's get this started. When I first saw the Anarchy card, I thought, well, this is going to be a pretty good week for Anarchy. Few matches probably saved this show this week. Like I said, there was a lot of controversy on this show. Still a lot of controversy going on now. A lot of unhappy universe people out there over certain things. Like I said, there was a few good matches that kind of saved this show from being a complete flop this week. I'll go over that match when I get to it. First match of the night on Anarchy, we had a tag team match between Colossal Connection and I wrestle once a year like the Rock, HHA. HHA comes away with a win, and that one off of Colossal Connection. They won last week in a pretty good tag match, and to come in and lose to the once a year tag team HHA is pretty disappointing, but HHA picks up the win in that one. Next match we had Fly versus Captain Ryan versus James Ant. I was looking for Captain Ryan to win this match, but James Ant surprises everybody, comes out and picks up the W in this one. Really good triple threat match between those three. Next match was a fatal four-way. Probably one of the only matches that helped Anarchy this week was between Third Gunman, Tonto, Master Flex, and Donnie Havoc. I'm not sure what Donnie Havoc done before this match, but he come out and I think won it in like maybe 4 minutes. Hit the red arrow, pinned Third Gunman, and it was over. Very good fatal four away from Donnie Havoc. Picks up the W. Immediately following that match, the camera shot backstage and it had Dread Havoc attacking D-Rod in the back. Dread pretty much just takes out D-Rod. When the cameras came back to the commentary booth, D-Rod had barbecue sauce on his face, so undoubtedly Asylum had got to D-Rod. So not sure where that's going. Next match of the night's probably an Assassin Reviews opinion. The biggest load of horse shit in Anarchy history. Me as the podcaster, I have to say that the way this match was handled, knowing the way this game is, and to overrule a referee's ruling due to a botched game and a bear hug being released, when there's actually 2 instances in this match to where both guys were robbed of a submission move due to a faulty ref breakup. Crap is all I gotta say. Should have been handled differently. Never should have been a rematch. I mean, if somebody's going to get a rematch off of a botched move like that, then we need to go back to all these other shows that it's happened to people in the past and make it right with them too. I mean, that's just our opinions at Assassin Reviews. Match should have been handled differently. Should have never been a rematch. If anything, there should have just been a triple threat at the pay-per-view. Donnie, I don't know what you was thinking on this one. I know you stood your ground at the beginning, but you caved in afterwards. There was, like I said, there was a ruling for a YouTube rematch, which led to Grimm picking up the win over Tater Tot. I don't even count that as a match. My ruling in this podcast is Tater Tot won this match. I don't give a damn what anybody says. It's the way it is. So Tater Tot comes away with a W in this match. To the Anarchy higher ups, you got time to make this right. Let's just hope you do. If not, then I don't know what to say. It was just a crapshoot all the way around. And we'll see what happens. Probably nothing. So right now it's Grimm versus Shane Williams at the pay-per-view for Fusion title. Next match of the night was probably the other match that saved Anarchy. It was between Deadman Walking and Shane Williams. This was a hard match to choose. I don't think I could choose one in the last podcast I done. But Deadman Walking picks up the W in this one over Shane Williams. I think Deadman Walking right now is the only undefeated guy in WWC, which is pretty impressive. So congrats to Deadman Walking on another W. This next match is probably another match that had a little bit of controversy to it too. It was a fatal 4-way. It was between Ziggy Geek, Vane, No Show Beast, and Darian. What I'm hearing is there was some upset folks about Beast never being in the stream or anything, but yet keeps getting shots at titles. And here at Assassin Reviews, we have to kind of agree on that. Showing up once a month, that shouldn't count for anything. I think that match should be redone too, and a triple threat between Ziggy, Vane, and Darian, and make it right for #1 one contender for the U.S. title. But again, that's on the WWC higher-ups' heads on whether they make that right or not. But B should have never been in this match. Another thing that I forgot to bring up in the Tater Tot Grimm match that was brought to my attention was Grimm is actually a new call. He should have never even been in this Fusion title match. Brand new call. Should have been Twitch. He should have been down in the, I think it's the Twitch live belt rankings. He should have never even been up there where Tater Tot was at. I forgot to bring that up, but that's another point that was being brought up to us here at the podcast. Last match of the night was NWO versus question mark. Well, after the attack from Dread on D-Rod, I guess Asylum had invaded, and it ended up being NWO versus Asylum. I want to say it was Balak, Loki, and Brutus Fulton. They showed up in the main event against NWO. Really good match. Pretty good match, actually. But at the end of the night, Asylum comes away with a W in this one. So a good debut by Asylum. They made a statement. Now, from what's been swirling around the WWC universe, there's an alliance that's been formed or being formed between NWO and the Wolfpack to try and take out the Asylum. Not sure how that's going to work out. They're saying they're going to take out the Asylum like they've done all these past factions that come and gone, but if I know Dread Havoc, that's going to be a tough task because I don't see him giving in like all these past factions have. Asylum is here for one reason, and that's just to do what they've been doing. I've been told they're not here to win titles. They could care less about titles. If they can keep you from getting a title, that's their goal, pretty much. And they've done some pretty drastic things since coming to Carnage, where they originally debuted. This week they debuted in Anarchy, so they're spreading like fire. So it's just a matter of time to see what happens. I was mind blown whenever I even caught notion of an alliance between NWO and Wolfpack. It's not something that I would ever think would happen. Pretty mind blown on that one. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Two headbutting factions joining an alliance, that could be combustible, but we'll have to see. Carnage had a pretty decent night. The main event had some controversy, which we'll go over when I get to that match. Pretty solid show from Carnage. Had a 6-man Hell in the Cell to kick off the night, which was between Ace J, Timothy Armstrong, Alex Carter, Desmond Havoc, Mr. Havoc, and CBN. CBN has been back 2-3 weeks. I really wasn't looking for him to win this 6-man Hell in a Cell. I had my pick on Mr. Havoc. Really good match though, but CBN comes away in that match with the W. Impressive win by him. Second match of the night was Victor Payne versus Matches versus Jody. Podcast was pulling for Jody in this one. Jody almost gets there and just can't get there. He'll get there eventually. I mean, he's on the right track, so can't give up on Jody. But Victor Payne comes away with the win in a TLC match. Next match of the night was between Crusher and Dean Staniak. Anytime a Staniak's in a match, I gotta pick those guys because they're relentless. And Dean showed it tonight as he takes the W over Crusher. Battle of the Bat match, I guess you could call it. But yeah, Dean Staniak comes away with a W in that one. Next match of the night, everybody called the column match because most of this match was fought behind the column in the Carnage Arena. It was between Turp versus Pee Wee. From what we got to see of the match, it was a pretty good match. But Pee Wee comes away with a W. Good job, Pee Wee. Remember, let the toilet seat down. Next match of the night was the last man standing between Wick and Goose. Probably the best match of the night, in my opinion. Both guys got really good calls, and it showed in this match as it was back and forth. There was some points I thought Goose was out, and there's points in the match I thought Wick was out. But at the end of the night, or at the end of the match, Goose comes away with a W and picks up the win over Wick. Left Wick laying in the ring and picks up the W. So good job to you, Goose, in that last man standing match. Next match of the night was a 2-on-1 handicap match. Wolfpack getting their revenge on D-Rod in a way in the NWO by putting Johnny Sniper in a 2-on-1 handicap match against LA and 3rd Street Saints. Now I have to say, Johnny Sniper put up a fight in that match. He did all he could, but the 2-on-1 was just a little bit too much for him. He just couldn't hang, and Wolfpack picks up a W in that one. Now the next match, the main event, was the controversial match on Carnage this week. It was just a controversial week for WWC. Nerfer versus Tinky for Nerfer's rematch for the world title. It's a really good match up until the end where Nerfer pins Tinku, and Tinku reaches out and grabs the ropes with his hand before the 3 count. But unfortunately, regardless of what anybody says, the ref was not in position to see it. I've looked at this match more than one time before I'd done the podcast, and you can clearly see that the ref was not in any position to see his hand on the rope. Regardless of what anybody says about it being a fluke or whatever, the ref wasn't in position. Now, this led to Carnage's commissioner and GM Wick and Nerfer being sent on vacation for a week. I think Johnny Sniper and Tyler was put in charge this week for Carnage. God help Carnage. No offense, Johnny Sniper. Or Tyler. But going into a pay-per-view week, you shouldn't. I think that was the wrong move, putting 2 people unfamiliar with what's been going on a show in charge. But hey, Wick and Nerfer got a free vacation out of it. again, controversial match. Here at the podcast, we say, "Oh well, ref wasn't in position to see the hand on the ropes." You know, usually the ref's ruling is final. You know, and the Carnage commissioner and GM was sticking to that rule. Ref 1, 2, 3 that was it. Move along. You know, wish I could say the same thing about the Anarchy. Again, I can't stress enough on how bad that match was handled on Anarchy. At least in a certain way, the Carnage main event was handled with some sort of structure, but enough of the ranting from us on that. Again, both shows, well, Carnage, decent show. Anarchy, I was torn on even reviewing that show this week on the podcast. It was just, I don't know, you can't put sprinkles on a turd and expect it to taste good. And that's just the way the podcast looked at Anarchy this week. But I'm not knocking them completely. There was still some good matches on there. For those are the ones that put on some good matches, good job to you. To those other matches on Anarchy, I hope the people in charge take a look and fix things after this podcast, because a lot of it wasn't handled right. Again, I'm ranting about that, so let's just move on. Good job to both shows this week too, by the way. So the next thing we'll move on to is my weekly ratings for both shows. Anarchy gets 3 stars this week only because the few matches that were actually good this week. Be thankful, because if it wasn't for them matches being good this week, I don't even know if I would have gave you any stars, because of the controversy and the way things were handled. Carnage almost hit that 5 stars this week. Had that controversy at the end. Again, I base these ratings off a lot of different things, and clearly the way the CEO pretty much sent the backbone of Carnage on vacation in the midst of a pay-per-view. You get 4 stars this week. Really good show other than the main event and the way the main event was handled. Nothing against the show, all real good matches. Hopefully the pay-per-view stands a chance. Hopefully the CEO works out something to where you can come back and take over the pay-per-view or something. All we can do is cross our fingers on that one. But yeah, Anarchy gets 3 stars this week. Anarchy, you can thank those few matches that actually held it together for you. Carnage, 4 stars this week. Like I said, just that main event kind of turned me off on it this week. But good job to those that came to perform in both shows this week and actually picked up the W's. Hopefully, like I said, things get worked out on both shows and are better next week. Next thing on the show is my awards for this week. On Anarchy, biggest loser this week is Grim. Like I said, I don't care what was said, what was done, who done it, whatever. Tater Tot won that match. Graham loses that match. The most controversial match that I've seen in Anarchy in a long time, and Graham loses it hands down. So Graham's my biggest loser this week. The biggest winner this week, I have to say, would be the debut in Asylum taking out the NWO. Really good win by Asylum. So congrats to them for the biggest winner this week. The You Tried award goes to NWO, to be a pretty much stable faction as they are for a debuting Asylum to come in. I have to give NWO at least a You Try this week. You tried to take out the Asylum, but Asylum took you out. So congrats on trying this week. On Carnage, my biggest loser on Carnage comes from the main event match, which is Tinku losing this title in the way that he did. It's a pretty big loss. So my biggest winner on Carnage this week is Tinku. My biggest winner on Carnage this week, all controversy aside, is Nerd Nerfer for retaining his world title. All that other crap aside, congrats Nerd Nerfer for being the biggest winner this week. My You Tried award actually goes out to Johnny Sniper this week. Being thrown in a 2-on-1 handicap match. You gave it your all. You tried. I mean, you did really well for the beginning of the match, but it just came down to being too much for you. So this week on this week on Carnage, Johnny Sniper gets my You Tried award. Congrats to him. Congratulations to all my award winners this week. Again, I'm going to say it for the 15th time. A lot of junk going on this week. Probably my most, as the six or seven episodes I've been doing this podcast, is probably my most disappointing podcast I have to do for Anarchy this week. Like I said, I was almost tempted not to even do it. But I had these other matches that actually did show up and put on a good show this week. So, again, congratulations to all the award winners this week on Anarchy and Carnage. Let's move on to my Hellboy award for this week. Goes out to none other than D-Rod, Donnie, and Tyler. It is actually shared this week. I don't know what to say. Those three get my Hellboy award winner this week. That's all I'm going to say about it. So congratulations to those three Hellboys. I think this is D-Rod's sixth one in a row. Donnie's and Tyler's first. But again, congratulations to those three for being official Hellboys of the week. Not a whole lot to talk about after this week other than the controversy, which I've ranted on this whole podcast, and I'm done ranting over it. For those that showed up on Anarchy and put on some good matches and won or lost, good kudos to you. Carnage, great show. Hopefully get that main event controversy taken care of and figured out. Well, there's not a whole lot to figure out. The ref wasn't in position to see the hand on the rope, so I guess enjoy your vacation and pray to God that the pay-per-view's worth the crap. Other than that, I think that pretty much wraps it up for my podcast on WWC this week. I'm still trying to get set up to do an interview podcast. Not truly ready for that yet. I will decide on who I want to have on the show when I get ready to do it, and we'll message them on Twitter. Like I said, it's not set up to do yet. It will eventually. So if you get a message in your Twitter asking if you want to join the show, then you will know. I would also like to again thank 3G for the new graphic. Again, D-Rod for the WWC. To all of you out there that has a call that actually makes WWC what it is, podcast thanks you also. I would like to shout out PWR. Last I heard was it was in the process of being recorded and will be released on YouTube soonish. That's by, we know him in chat by Third Gunman. His YouTube is actually his name too, Third Gunman on YouTube, which is where the Efed is going to be uploaded to watch. I'll eventually be doing a review on that Efed as soon as it kicks off. Looking forward to that. Like I said, I've started doing the UWE, and that episode will be released after the WWC one. Like I said, I'll be doing those shows separately to keep them apart so I don't get confused. But again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to me harp on about things today. It was just one of those weeks in WWC that had a lot of tomfoolery, as Third Gunman puts it, happen, and the podcast needed to speak their mind on it. This is a no-hold-barred podcast. I mean, if we feel like something needs to be brought up, we're gonna bring it up. Hurt feelings or not. It's not, it just has to happen. We try to get out there what other people don't want to say, and that's just what the podcast is for. Review, rumors, etc., etc. So, I think that's pretty much it for WWC this week. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Hope everyone has a great week. And this is Georgia Assassin for number 7 podcast of Assassin's Weekend Review for the WWC. And I will see you later.